When you look at the Romanian IT ecosystem, what do you wish existed here that you've seen in other markets?
2 or 3 things that would be amazing. One would be a brand. Imagine if you had 2 or 3 product companies that originated in Romania. Second, we can invest a lot more, so collaboration basically between the industry, the universities, and maybe some of the startups as well.
I also want to discuss with you a bit about AI. What's the gap between all the hype and what actually works?
It's a massive change in terms of how we do things going forward. Step 1 is identifying the right use case where you can potentially unlock value. Second, the data foundations need to be done well. So data quality, data availability. When it comes to, as a CEO, to look at how do you make sure that you can create value out of some of these use cases that you're looking at. Step 1 is identifying the right use case, where you can potentially unlock value, starting small with that and then scaling. I guess that's number 1. Second,
Hello and welcome to a new episode of CxO Off the Record by Cegeka. My name is Ovidiu Pinghioiu, I'm the Managing Director of Cegeka Romania, your new host. Until this year, the podcast was focused more on the tech side, but now we decided to change things a bit and we'll be talking about leadership. And I can't think of a better person to start this series than Kuldeep Kaushik, CEO of NN Insurance. Kuldeep, welcome and thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. It's a lot of pressure as well, by the way. Leadership is a big word, but let's see how we do it. But the first one is always special. So thank you for the invite.
You're welcome. Before we dive into business and the more serious questions, I think our listeners will love to know the person behind the CEO title. So let's start simple. Tell us, who is Kuldeep?
Who is Kuldeep? That's an interesting question. So I'm Indian, who has now lived outside India more than living in India. I'm an engineer, so I started as a metallurgical engineer. I don't know if that branch still exists, but then had the opportunity to get into technology. So I did a lot of COBOL programming and JCL and CICS and DB2, good old days. Then had the opportunity to move into business, did my master's and had the opportunity to transition into the business side, and I've spent 15 years in financial services since then. I'm a father of 2 kids, a husband, a son, a brother, and obviously I've collected a lot of friends as an individual. I love all kind of sports, so to watch and to play as well. Anything that does not need you to balance on your 2 feet. So skiing obviously was not never close to who we are, but any other kind of sport, soccer of course in Europe, cricket, which is a sport that India follows quite closely, tennis, trail walking, running, all of that. So I love and do a lot of sport. Also someone who enjoys challenges and uncertainty and is not very big fan of BAU, so to say. So BAU bores me as an individual. And lastly, I love to collect. Whatever that is, yeah.
Okay, interesting. And when we started doing the research for this podcast, because we didn't use like AI, tell us some questions. We need to do some research. And we actually saw the fact that you had a very interesting career path. So you started your career in India. After that, you moved to the United States. After the United States was Asia. After Asia, you moved to Europe in Spain. And after Spain, you came to Romania. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've missed any countries, right?
Well, a couple of them, but I'll come to them.
Couple of them, okay, awesome. So my question is, during all this transition that you've made, which one was the hardest for you?
Let me say first, it's been an absolute honor, honestly. Blessing, not even an honor, a blessing to be able to have this life that I've had. Just the opportunity to see different countries, culture, people, has been fabulous, to say the least. Second, I think my family has been incredibly kind and supportive for me to be able to live this life. I've uprooted them every 3 to 5 years and moved them into a different continent, different country. But they've been very supportive. So without them, it would not have been possible. As you said, we started, of course, I'm Indian, so I started in India. I went to UK first for a year.
Okay.
I lived in Brighton for a year. Then obviously spent time in US. Then I came to France to do my business school. So I spent roughly 4 or 5 years living in Paris. First, obviously, doing my business school, then working there as well. And then Hong Kong, Spain, and Romania, as you said. The most difficult transition, I think, for us, if I had to choose one, was moving from US to France to do my business school. As a family, of course, it was a challenge. Financially, it was a challenge because, you know, whatever we had saved, both of us, we invested into my business school. This was 2009, where, you know, the financial crisis had just hit the global markets. So the world was still reeling with the after effects. We had a 1.5-year-old daughter. That obviously was also a challenge, you know, first-time parents. Financially, personally, culturally, I think it was a challenge for us to move into continental Europe in that context. But I have to say that was the most rewarding transition as well. Business school was incredible. You get completely different perspective of looking at things. I made really good friends who are my mentors as well as we speak today. I have to say, living in Paris is an experience. So yeah, it was the most challenging one, but the most rewarding one as well for us.
When we were making this question, I was actually thinking and putting myself in your shoes to see exactly what you respond. And that transition in my head, it wouldn't be the hardest, but, you know, different people, different experiences. Because,
as I said, we had put financially almost everything at stake as a family. We in fact took loan to get to the business school. It was a difficult time. Getting back into a role was a challenge back then. And then you look at the opportunity cost. Yeah, I mean, both of us were working well in US, transitioning into France, where you don't speak the language. Culturally, you know, it's a little bit away from us as Indians. I mean, getting into UK or Australia or Singapore or US is much closer, you know, from a cultural point of view, from a language point of view at least. So I think that's why it was a challenge. So much so that it's more personal than for someone looking from outside.
That's very courageous. Great job. Let's move a couple of years behind, and you when you came to Romania. When you first landed in Romania, and I'm not talking about how you saw the city or the country, after you get to know better the culture and the people, what was something that was surprising for you?
So I've had 4 years here, and I have to say it's been incredible, to say the least. I say this to some of my close friends. If I was to write my own dream job, I wouldn't be able to write it better than what I have here in Romania. So it's been fabulous. From the beginning, I felt at home, I have to say. You said don't talk about the city, but, you know...
Not necessarily about the city. I'm just feeling, but you can say whatever you want. It's your experience.
Yeah, no, so just from landing and kind of chaos on the road, which is very close to us in India as well, I really felt at home. But maybe a little bit more seriously, I think if I look at personally, people are incredibly warm, friendly, and welcoming. So for someone like me, coming from outside, it was excellent that we had, people that were really warm and welcoming, which is great. Then if you look at much more professionally, incredibly ambitious people, very passionate, very proud, very much wanting to prove their mettle, which I feel is very close to who we are as Indians as well. So again, I found a lot of connection there. Then if you look at as a country, I mean it's a great mix of tradition and innovation. People have strong family values. People do invest into building what we were just discussing before. Building a family, kind of keeping the culture and tradition close, which is again very close for us as Indians as well. So yeah, I mean, I find a lot of similarity, and I almost feel like being home.
Awesome. And as I mentioned previously, and we established, you traveled a lot and you had a lot of experience. And my question is how this affected your leadership style. And so was the leadership style the same, or it had to adapt to the culture that you were in?
Yeah, I was getting worried about the leadership questions because they had to come at some point. So I think as a human being, or as any living being, if you're not evolving, then you're decaying. So even if I don't look at leadership, evolution is the only constant, or change is the only constant. So indeed, I have learned and adapted as well through my 48 years of being alive. Leadership for me had kind of three dimensions. If I was to look at, one is awareness. So obviously you need to be self-aware of your own values, strengths, and obviously drawbacks or areas where you have blind spots. Also awareness of the context. So if you are in US versus if you're in UK, or if you're in India, or if you're in Romania, I think context plays a lot of role as well. So awareness being the first dimension, and indeed, the more you put yourself out there in different contexts, the stronger your muscle gets in terms of having that emotional intelligence to know the room you're in. Then comes agility. So how well you can learn once you've obviously started to understand the awareness part. And the third part is adaptability from there. So awareness, agility, and adaptability once you've got the landscape understood. So yes, I've adapted, I've learned, I think I'm evolving every day. But there are then things that are core to you that you don't change. Your values, your principles that you want to live and die by. So for me, the core of being, trust, authenticity, fairness, those are values that I have not compromised on, irrespective of the country I was in.
And you're talking about the values of a leader, but what do you think are the qualities of a good leader?
I think the first one would be predictability.
Okay.
And what I mean by predictability is that you show up the same way, irrespective of what's going on in your own personal space. Second would be integrity, which I was kind of referring to as well. And the last one would be trust, which is obviously value that I kind of live with. And if you cannot build that trust with your teams, if you cannot give that trust to your teams, then obviously you're not empowering them, so to say. So yeah, those would be the 2 or 3 things that come to mind.
I've heard a lot about vulnerability as being a quality of a good leader. And I just want to ask you, what's your opinion on this? Is it?
Absolutely. I think what I said about authenticity, for me, kind of embodies or encapsulates two principles. One is being vulnerable, and second is being humble. So yes, vulnerability is an important dimension, because without being vulnerable and being humble, we will start to become AIs, which we don't want to be.
You've built a strong leadership team, NN, that's a certain. And I'm curious, when you are hiring someone for that level, what's that one thing that you look into that person?
Now I'm thinking, indeed, I think we've been really, really fortunate. I love the group of people that we have at NN, and it's incredible what they do day in, day out. When I'm recruiting, I think you're looking at obviously ambition, you're looking at energy, but I'll steal from Warren Buffett. He said, if you don't have integrity, you don't have a business to run. So yeah, you're looking at ambition, energy, but integrity, I guess if I had to choose one, you would choose that one, especially at the leadership role.
Okay.
Yeah, there you do need integrity more than anything else.
Moving on, when you look at the Romanian IT ecosystem, because I had to address something about IT, us being an IT company, and the service provider, the consultancies, everything that you are seeing and you have experienced since you moved to Romania. What do you wish existed here that you've seen in other markets?
So first of all, I have to say you guys are a great partner. So thank you for what you do. I think you've contributed massively to the transformation that NN is undergoing. So there is a lot of skill available, and you see that in the nearshoring that is happening. The likes of Googles and Microsofts are obviously building delivery centers here. That speaks to the talent pool that Romania has. Speaks to again the passion and commitment of the teams here as well. So all of that is great, and clearly we're starting to put a stamp, at least in a European context, that Romania can build that talent pool. 2 or 3 things that would be amazing to have going forward. One would be a brand. So I think we need to start building brands coming out of Romania. UiPath, I think, is one of the ones, but I guess imagine if you had 2 or 3 product companies that originated in Romania. That would give a flagship to the country as well, and flagship to then all the other consultancies as well. Second, I think we can invest, and that maybe just speaks to the first point. We can invest a lot more, so collaboration basically between the industry, the universities, and maybe some of the startups as well, to start to keep that innovation and that creativity going. So that would be amazing, to build collaboration between industry, education, startup ecosystems, and I'm sure some of the VCs would love to come into play as well. Yeah, I think we do those 2 things. As I said, we're doing very well in terms of putting the Romania on the landscape as far as tech goes. I was reading from a STEM point of view. Romania does produce, I think at a European context, quite a sizable number of engineers and STEM branch people. So I think we've got everything going. We build a little bit of a brand and collaboration, yeah.
To add on this, because what you are saying is in line with my personal belief as well, because I think we lack a long-term strategy. We were very happy in the position that we are in and helping companies achieve their goals with our engineers from Romania, But because right now you are talking about UiPath, but the skill helped many other brands. For example, not many people know that Databricks, I don't know if you've heard of is the hottest kid in the block, if I can say like this, on the data side. And the co-founder is Romanian.
Wow.
It's one of the has a massive evaluation. You'll be amazed when you'll be hearing about them. And that list can continue. Whoop, the devices that with the sleep and consistency and everything, the co-founder was also a Romanian that was doing their Harvard program, and they built this company. And the co-founder also Romanian. But I totally agree. But my belief is that we lack a long-term strategy. Poland had it, and they executed flawlessly. We still lack on that. We were more comfortable, to add on this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But we'll get there.
Yeah, of course. You've worked with providers across different markets, and this is a topic that's very interesting for every service provider who wants to become a strategic partner. What does it take to become a strategic partner?
Strategic partner. And you're talking in technology space, in delivery?
Not necessarily, because in each service that you are providing for your customer, you want to be that reliable partner that they can go to each time they need something. You can be an office supply, don't get me wrong. Yeah. Everything. Because I think it's something there that's just a supplier and a provider.
For a strategic partnership, you're looking at, of course, experience. Yeah, so you need to have the relevant experience. You need to have the speed and agility that you would expect in a partner in the current context where things are moving incredibly fast. But beyond those two, which are for me hygiene, what you're looking at is the focus on value creation, the trust and transparency that one needs to have, the innovation and adaptability you need to bring. So I would say for a strategic partnership, beyond those hygiene of obviously having the experience, having the speed and agility, you're looking at partner that is looking at value creation. So a win-win and win, if I had to say that way. And then obviously full trust and transparency and speed in terms of innovation.
Okay, interesting. And being on this team and talking about technology, I also want to discuss with you a bit about the buzzword of the moment, about AI, because everyone is talking about AI, And recently, you hosted the NN International Hackathon focused on agentic AI. So you are not actually just talking about it, you are also using it. So my question for you is, from what you've seen, what's the gap between all the hype and what actually works?
Indeed, it's a buzzword. Indeed, it's a technology that will, I guess, shift the world forever. And NN Group has surely been ahead of the curve, so to say. Our partnership with OpenAI started way before anybody knew OpenAI. So indeed, we've been investing into building the muscle. Now, when it comes to, as a CEO, to look at how do you make sure that you can create value out of some of these use cases that you're looking at, I have a 4 or 5 layer cake as well, as Jensen Wong would say. So he has a 5-layer cake of how AI is stacking up. Step 1 is identifying the right use case, where you can potentially unlock value, starting small with that and then scaling. I guess that's number 1. So identifying the right use case, starting small, showing some successes and scaling up. Second, the data foundations need to be done well. So data quality, data availability. If that is not done well, you will only be tinkering on the sides, on the edges. You will never actually fundamentally transform. So having the right data is second. Third would be the ability for us to take the outcomes of the AI solutions to the right people. So if I have got a great pricing model, if I cannot get it to my underwriters or if I cannot get it to my consultants, it's of no use. If I've got a great insight about my customer and I cannot give it to my call center agents, it's of no value. So the ability to have the outcomes of these AI and machine learning data models in the hands of people that can use those insights and deliver value is the third pillar. Fourth would be the change part of it. So it's a massive change in terms of how we do things going forward. So the change management and adoption at a org-wide level is the fourth one.
Okay.
And the fifth one would be the fact that you need to do this responsibly as well. So whatever we build as an organization, we need to be responsible to our shareholders, responsible to our customers, responsible to obviously the regulatory bodies. So doing it responsibly with the right legal and ethical models is the fifth one. So that's what I would say, how you kind of scale some of these opportunities.
Regarding your answer, do you see a challenge? Because we are talking, technology, but people are in the center at the same time. Do you see a challenge on adaptability from the people on adapting with this new reality?
It will be a challenge, but it's no different from any change that has come, in our lives, where you will always have these early adopters, so people who would obviously be at the forefront, people who would be sitting on the fence, and people who would be completely against it. We were at Microsoft a few months back, the CEOs in Netherlands, and they were showing us a video from late 90s.
Okay.
Where they were going around asking people if they really needed a mobile phone, like a smartphone. And everybody was basically saying, but I really don't see any value of having a mobile phone. I have my landline, and my friends know where to find me. 20 years later, actually not even 20, 10 years later, I don't think you could think of living without a smartphone. So I think we are in that space as we speak about obviously the data and AI as well, but it's here to stay. It's here to enable the society and the businesses that we will be leading in the next phase. So yeah, I think change would be a challenge, but I always say this to my own self as well and to the teams, that either you can adopt it and be part of it, or stand on the sides and be left behind.
Yeah, okay. Speaking of AI, our opinion is that AI is like a car, a nice flashy car that it can go 100 kilometers per hour in a couple of seconds. But that car cannot move without a good set of wheels. Mm-hmm. And those wheels, in our opinion, is the data. So the insurance companies are sitting on a mountain of data, from customer data, policies, claims, and the list can go on and on. But how much of that data can you actually use in order to make better business decisions?
It's a good question. I have to say, even before data became the topic that everybody's talking about, insurers were always dealing with data. I mean, actuary was a qualified position. And these guys were obviously running a lot of data models to understand how to do risk selection and underwriting. So insurers indeed do sit on a lot of data that should obviously help our business decision making. Now, what I said previously, I don't think the quality and the accessibility and governance has been strong enough. So there we have a lot of work to be done. But if, assuming I have a strong foundations in terms of data, I think the sky is the limit. So I talked about risk selection, of course, underwriting, risk selection. We continue to use data, but if I move beyond that, the ability to give a better, superior customer experience, to be able to make the right offers to our customers, give the right advice at the right time in their life journey, can be made massively possible by using the right set of data. What we can do in terms of claims management, so when you have customer reaching out, in terms of fraud, in terms of again doing the right set of underwriting, making your business decisions in terms of reporting and looking at the operational metrics, the opportunity is immense. even kind of almost using some of this data to give back to the communities. The amount of accident data, for example, Turkey had a really cool example some time back. They had a lot of accident data they had collected because they were underwriting, they had a big motor portfolio. So they knew exactly the areas where most of the accidents were happening. Okay. And they started to give data back to their customers to say, when you are driving at 9 o'clock in the evening and you're taking that turn, please be a little bit more careful, because that's where the accidents are happening. So you have so much data that you can in fact start giving it back to the communities that you operate in, and create value for the communities you work with as well.
That's a great solution for Bucharest as well.
Yeah.
To give for the traffic in order to see exactly where the traffic is.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you are moving on to our next question. Right now, you are leading NN throughout the Ambition 2027. This is your initiative that you have right now.
You've done good research.
Which is a major transformation initiative. Yeah. And my question is, when you get to 2027 and look back, what's different?
Oof, I hope a lot of it. So yes, a couple of years back, we went, the leadership team went to MIT and we kind of heard from the brightest and the smartest of lot about this future-ready vision, which is basically an organization that is scalable and is also fully focused on customer experience. So that's how I guess our Ambition 27 was envisioned. And to your question, end of 27, I think we have 3 big pillars, and I would love for these 3 key stakeholders in our organization to have a completely different experience. The first one being our customers. So we're building a lot in terms of having a superior experience to our customers from the time they hear about us, when they are not even aware of insurance and NN, to actually being a partner with us, a customer for us for the next 20 years. So giving a superior customer experience. Second, our consultants. So we've got more than 1,600 consultants who are our brand ambassadors, as I call them, that they are the ones that are the first point of contact a customer reaches out when they are in trouble. So I would love our consultants to be fully digitally enabled, having solutions and tools at their fingertip, where they can obviously bring the right offers, service the customers as well. And lastly, to our employees, having a completely different experience in terms of how we service our customers, start moving away from managing volumes to managing value, not looking at looking at more complex value-added topics rather than just, as I said, running volumes. So yeah, end of 27, I'm looking at an NN which is fully digitally enabled for our customers, for our consultants, and for our employees.
Okay, paperless.
Oh, absolutely. STP, which is what you call straight-through processing, is one of the key KPIs. So we are expecting, again, as I said, what is volume and standard goes through straight through, and then you're focusing on value creation, more complex transactions. So yes,
good luck.
Paperless as well.
A tough mission.
As I said, boring routine doesn't excite me. So we love the challenge, and I'm speaking on behalf of the 540 of us.
Okay.
I think they all love a challenging, ambitious plan.
Okay.
So that's what we put together.
Believe it or not, we are slightly approaching to the end, and I want to close with some softer questions. I hope you find it softer questions, and one of them is related to something that I've personally experienced. Mm-hmm. So a couple of years ago, when I became the CEO of Cegeka Romania, a lot of people told me to be ready on having the loneliest job in the company. At that point, in my mind, I was like, okay, I didn't put a lot of attention to that. Yeah, I think that they were rumbling or something. But 2 years after, 2-3 years after, I'm starting to understand why. What's your What's your opinion on that?
I have said it to a couple of people as well, that indeed it's quite a lonely job when you get to it. But just going back, first of all, I think congratulations on your own journey. I mean, we did, I don't know if I can use the word, but we did F* UCK
Indeed.
Nights together. So I was in the audience listening to your story. So congratulations, first of all. Indeed, it's great to see how you've evolved. Yes, it is lonely, indeed. I've had times wherein I've gone home and I've been wondering, did I make the right call? Was I too pushy? Was I, too pain in the neck, so to say? And you have no one to bounce those ideas with. So yes, it is lonely, but then if you take a step back, I feel it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to honestly build a legacy and leave the place better than you found it. It's a responsibility as well, because you're obviously taking the responsibility of the whole organization, of whatever number of people that are kind of depending on your decision making, so to say, at the crunch moments. And I think it's a blessing as well, because I think if you do this well, you leave a strong set of people that are the future leaders. So yeah, it is lonely, but as I said, it's a massive opportunity to build a legacy. It's a responsibility, to your shareholders, to your regulators, to your customers, to your employees, and it's a blessing as well, because you get to build leaders of the future if you do this well.
Okay, the world is changing faster than ever. We have technology, market, expectation. Everything is changing at a very fast pace. And besides our day-to-day job, because we are talking about the CEO challenges that we have and everything, we also have to do a more important job, and that being a parent. I see it as a more important job and more difficult job, to be honest. And my question is, what advice are you giving to your children in order to be future ready?
That's an interesting one. Let me start with a personal story. My daughter started her university last year.
Okay.
So I went to drop her, and we had a 4-hour drive from Atlanta to Savannah, which is where her school is, her college is. Through that 4-hour journey, I wanted her to listen to these 2 YouTube videos that I've always wanted her to follow. One is obviously the Steve Jobs Stay Hungry, Stay Foolish commencement speech. And the other one is a TED Talk by Sir Ken Robinson. He speaks about education and in UK. And those 2 for me are, if I could give her some advice, those 2 kind of videos crystallize the key advice, so to say. The first one is creativity. I think if there is one skill that would survive this revolution and any future AI revolution, creativity would be one. Second would be the ability to learn, or be a continuous learner. So learn things not for the reason that they will help you in a job or in a potential opportunity immediately, but learn for the fun of it. Learn because you're curious. Learn because you want to unlearn and relearn things. So learning, or a continuous learning mindset, would be the second one. And the third one was to live life to fullest. Not worry about what the future would hold, but to live every day that you've got to its maximum potential. Because now that I am where I am, I realize that when I was going to university, I had a lot of thoughts in my head, which most of them did not materialize. So live your life to the fullest would be the 3 things.
Okay, thank you so much. And we have a game here, at the end of each episode, our guests ask a question for the next guest. So without knowing who will come. So this is a total surprise, you know.
Okay.
So our last episode was with Florin Nenache, Global Head of Security and Operations at NN Digital Center. And his question to you is, what is your motto? That motto that keeps you going when resources are low?
I think there are two things that I always have lived by. First one is, why walk when you can run?
Okay.
So this is, I guess, it was somewhere in one of the books, I think it's Richard Bach, if I'm quoting him well, which largely means, push yourself harder than the rest. And the second one, which we put together because I was preparing for a corporate speech a few years back, which kind of now summarizes the thought, is no guts, no glory.
Okay.
So those two things, or those two emotions kind of keep me going most of the times. So why walk when you can run, and no guts, no glory.
Awesome. And the last part, now it's your turn. What is your question for our next guest?
So I have this dilemma always in my head, and maybe offline you answer me as well, and we'll share notes. In our roles, there is a fine line between confidence, ego, and arrogance.
Okay.
And you don't know when you have tipped over between having confidence to kind of getting into an arrogance or an ego space. And I've always had that kind of check in my head every day when I'm negotiating. So I would love to hear thoughts of your next guest, how he or she manages or how he or she keeps in check the challenge between having confidence but not tipping over to being arrogant. So
okay. Kuldeep, thank you so much for accepting our invitation and answering all our questions. Hopefully it wasn't very stressful for you. For us it was very fun. And thank you.
Well, thank you as well. It was my first podcast as well, and first one is always special. No, it was a pleasure. Thank you, and also thank you for your partnership. Without you, we wouldn't be where we are as NN as well. So thank you for your partnership as well. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.